And here we go. Hi, everyone. This is Margaret Hirsch at Home with Hirsch's, and thank you for joining us for our chat on wellness today. Now, we've been through so much in the past 2 years with COVID and with us with looting and with all sorts of other things that we've had to go through, not to mention just keeping our businesses going and keeping food on the table, a roof over our head. So it's been a real challenge to get through it. But you know what? We've survived and we've thrived through COVID. Every one of you, when you look back, never mind on anything else, but on yourselves, you have definitely improved in yourself, because the things that you've gone through have prepared you for so much more. And I always think, God is always preparing you to go on for greater things. And every time you get over one of those humps in the road, it's so much smoother on the other side. And everything's going swimmingly, and then boof, you hit another hump in the road. How do you deal with it? Well, today we've got two specialists. We've got Stacey and Jess, and they're going to come in, and I'm going to start with Stacey. Come on in, Stacey, and tell us all about what you do.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much, Margaret, for hosting this and for introducing these Motivational Mondays, as we call it. So what we are is Connectable Life. So Connectable Life started before COVID hit, and COVID did seem to propel it forward. That meant Connectable Life is a mind, body, and wellness platform that is fully online with all forms of different therapies. So counselors, dietitians, coaches, we've got almost 30 different fields with different specialists that people can go on, book a session with one of them, find a time slot, pay for the session, and then when it is the allotted time, they will go into their therapy session. So our whole aim and goal is to make therapy easy, accessible, safe, and just remove the stigma of therapy that sadly surrounds it. In today's world, most people, they say up to 90% of people who experience mental health illnesses say that the stigma in getting the help is the hardest part. So we wanting to remove that stigma. We wanting to make this an open and easy space. So hence Connectable Life. We've got almost 95 different specialists available, and their profiles are all on there. Either people can go and just pick a specialist of their choice, or they can fill out one of the questionnaires and we can help direct them to the right specialist. So our whole aim and goal is wellness over illness. So if you are able to get the help that you need before you have a breakdown or before it's too late, that is the end goal at the end of the day. So that's what Connectable Life is all about. So Jess, on to you.
Well, very quickly before Jess starts, I think people have to understand, and as I said to my friend who just lost her son to suicide, I said to her, go and get therapy. And she said, no, I can deal with this. I can deal with this. And I said to her, you know what? If you had a broken leg, you wouldn't walk around with a broken leg saying, I can deal with this. You'd get it sorted out. And I said to her, well, you've got a broken heart now. It needs sorting out. You've got to go to somebody who would, as they would sort out your broken leg or sort out your broken heart, you have to have it done. And you've got to be able to work through it, and you've got to do it the right way. If you just left your leg hanging, yes, it would heal, but you'd walk with a limp for the rest of your life. Whereas if you get it sorted out, you can go forward for the rest of your life in strength. And that's actually what this is all about, to make sure that you go forward for the rest of your life in strength. So Jess, come on in and say.
Absolutely. Yes, I just want to touch on what Margaret has said there in terms of the suicide and the intention behind these Motivational Mondays. When Margaret, Stacey, and I chatted about the possibility of doing a webinar series, Margaret suggested a Monday morning because it seems to be when the most suicides happen. And I think it's something people don't necessarily want to talk about, but we have to talk about, because if you look at the statistics, every 40 seconds, somebody, and this is according to the World Health Organization, every 40 seconds somebody commits suicide, and every 3 seconds somebody attempts it. And that's the sort of, that's the bad news. The good side to it is that 75% of the time people show warning signs. So if we are educated and we know more about what to look out for, and people feel open enough to speak about what they feeling and going through and experiencing, then we could possibly prevent 75% of those. And so that's really what these Motivational Mondays are about. It's to open a space where people can feel their feels, acknowledge their experiences, and then go, you know what I've been through is terrible, but now how do I move forward? What can I do? What is in my control? And that's where our amazing specialists at Connectable Life are going to come in. Every Monday, we're going to have a different theme. Some will be more motivational in terms of moving forward. Others will be a little bit more looking back on what you have been through, what you may be feeling, and how to deal with that. It's obviously very difficult to feel motivated if you're struggling with something. So we want to balance the two. What are you struggling with? How do you deal with it? Okay, how do we now get motivated and live our best lives? So every Monday will be a combination and a balance of those two things. I also just wanted to touch on the time of year that we've chosen to do these webinars. Some may find it a bit strange because we should be winding down, doing less. Who's going to log on to these sort of things when we're focusing on Christmas? But that might be for the majority of people. But sadly, this time of year can be a very, very triggering time for people. It can be a reminder of everything they don't have. It can be a reminder of the people in their lives that they don't have. You know, people lose people every day. You know, there isn't grace over the Christmas period. So for a lot of people, it could be a grieving time. You could lose your job. You could, whatever it is, you know, life carries on. It doesn't pause for us to enjoy the festive period. So as much as it is a fantastic time of year for a lot of people, it can also be a really, really difficult and lonely time for a lot of people. So this is our effort in helping people through this period if they either want to just survive the time or possibly, you know, everything's good and they want to just thrive through the time. So that's sort of the intention behind these Mondays. So thank you so much, Margaret, for opening the space. I think one of our biggest, as Stacey's touched on, and Margaret, you've touched on, we've got to eliminate the stigma around feeling not okay and then doing something about it. If you look at different research, some will say 1 in 3 people, some will say 1 in 4, and some will say 1 in 5, depending on the area, the time, the research at the time. But you can look at an average of 1 in 4 people that have struggled or are struggling with a mental illness. So that's someone within your close family, it's someone within your close group of friends that are going through this. 1 in 4, that is extremely common. So it should be something that we can very easily speak about, and there should not be anybody having to suffer in silence, and there absolutely should not be any shame in feeling any of these things and then reaching out for help.
I think what I would say to people, it's okay to be not okay, because sometimes you're just not okay. Are you okay? No. If people say, are you okay? I'm okay. Are you really okay? And well, actually, no, I'm feeling terrible today, you know, and then you've got to learn to do something about that. How do you cope with it? What I say to people is the first thing you've got to do is you've got to be grateful. You've got to be grateful for what you have and not focus on what you haven't got. Because if you're grateful for the things that you have, by the law of attraction, you'll attract more of those into your life. The minute you start being bitching and moaning and carrying on, you have to live in an attitude of gratitude. So I just want to go through a couple of slides quickly and then we'll come back to you guys. You've got to think gratitude all the time. You can't just say, you know, now and then, oh, I'll be grateful, and then the rest of the time I'm not grateful. You've got to think gratitude all the time. Allow the power of gratitude to add joy in every area of your life, not just, okay, I'm grateful for my home and I'm grateful for my food. And, you know, you've got to be grateful for every single thing that you have. I'm grateful. I'm living in South Africa. I'm grateful that I got up this morning. We had electricity. I could dry my hair. I'm grateful when I put the shower on, the water came out, because we've had water problems here. I mean, I think living in South Africa gives you lots of things to be grateful for. So I encourage all my staff to have a gratitude journal, and everybody watching, I encourage you to have a gratitude journal. Now, I must be perfectly honest with you. I start and stop, start and stop, start and stop. I'm going like the first of the month today. It's a good day to start. I've got my new diary out and I'm doing my gratitude journal. 3 things I'm grateful for, 3 amazing things about myself. Now, why have you got to say amazing things about yourself? Because often other people don't say amazing things about you. You know you're amazing, but nobody tells you, oh my gosh, I think you're quite amazing. So you've got to tell yourself, and this morning my 3 things were, I'm efficient, I'm organized, and I get out and make things happen. And I do that. That's what. Now, every day you've got to say 3 things about yourself. That's fantastic. And by the end of the year, you'll have 1,000 good things about yourself. And when you look at it, when you're feeling down, look through those things and it just perks you up. Okay. And then 3 things that you're going to do today. You've got to plan what you're going to do. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So you've got to have 3 things that I'm definitely going to do this today. I'm definitely going to vote today. I'm definitely going to fetch my mother and take her to vote, although she says she hates the government and she's not going to vote. I'm going to take her and tell her she's got to vote. And I'm going to go see my grandsons today because I haven't seen them for a while and I really feel I'm losing out there. So you've got to plan to do those 3 things. If I didn't, I'd say, oh, I really feel like voting. The weather's so nice. I think I'm going to go to the beach. So you've got to put those things down. And remember, if it's not on paper, it's vapor. So you've got to choose gratitude, because gratitude is the antidote to bitterness, depression, misery, all those things. Gratitude will balance those scales out. We live in the universe. The universe has to have balance. So I just want you to try for 7 days to think grateful. Write down every day for 7 days what you're grateful for in a journal, and realize that gratitude is a choice. You can choose to be grateful. You can choose not to be grateful. If you do this every day for 7 days, you will see that your life will start to change and you'll be able to add to that. So when pain, misery, or anger happens, it's time to look within you, not around you. What do you normally start blaming? The country, the politics, your boss, your spouse, the kids. But really, when it starts to happen, you've got to start to look inside. What is inside me that is trying to manifest itself through my anger, through my misery? I went for years being so angry. I was such an angry person. I was angry with my father for leaving us as when I was 10. He left my mother. She couldn't cope. He left me. I was 10. He left my brother, who was 5. I was angry with him for years and years and years. When I let that anger go, my whole life turned around and became so much better. So a lot of things you're bottling up inside of you. That's why you need the therapy to actually get it out and express it. And once you've cleared that blockage, you'll find that you can go on. So, but of course, my favorite thing every day is meditation. I get up every morning and meditate. Now, people say, I don't have time to meditate. Set your alarm for half an hour earlier. I've just been given a fantastic meditation cushion. I used to sit on my pillow, but now I've got a meditation cushion that I sit on, and just clear your mind. Imagine how dirty your body would be if you hadn't washed it since you were born. Well, that's how full of rubbish your mind is if you haven't been meditating. You need to get up, quiet your mind, and the soul will speak. Speak to yourself in that time and just let it happen. So I just want to show you, this is Anna, who I took out of abject poverty. She had 30 Rand to her name. We started cooking. We started teaching ladies to cook. And our policy was everyone that I taught, we taught 4 ladies, and those 4 would teach 4, and those 4 would teach 4, and so it's gone on until we have hundreds today, ladies making a living from cakes. And I just want to show you this cake that came in yesterday. It was from that little student you saw there, who'd only been baking for 3 weeks. 3 weeks before she did this cake, she had never baked a cake, she'd never asked a cake. And look what she managed to produce. This was at a wedding yesterday. That's just amazing. So, and I think, Shane, we'll just go back now to Stacey, and just, so what I do is I bring out the creativity of a woman. If you get rid of all the rubbish and the worry and the misery and the gossiping and all that yucky stuff, you find underneath those women, as I found with Anna the Baker, and as we do with our students, that there's this beautiful creativity, there's this wonderful energy that's hidden under all the rubbish, but you have to clear that rubbish out first. Stacey, what do you feel about that?
Yeah, absolutely, 1000%. And, if you haven't dealt with the trauma is going to stay with you. We often think that time will heal all traumas, but they don't. Unless you clear out those cobwebs, unless you deal with the underlying the foundation of what is happening, it's not going anywhere. You're just going to be living each new experience through that trauma, sadly. So, whatever we've gone through, even this unrest, if it has adversely affected you, you need to deal with that. You need to speak it out. You need to unpack what's happened. Maybe it's opened up new wounds that you experienced from the past. Just having any form of violence in your life, just living in South Africa and hearing the things around us. Maybe it's somebody that it's affected you and you're an anxious person, and therefore go and see somebody about it, or just chat to family, chat to friends, start talking about it, write about it, journal. Like Margaret said, meditation is phenomenal, and mindfulness, there's so many great techniques that we've got at the moment. So find those and work through them, but don't just leave it. We're in an age where there's so much information around us that we are able to find what will be able to help us. But if you are struggling, seeing a counselor or a coach definitely would be beneficial, because they will guide you in the right direction. I know I experienced you know, we all experience traumas over the years, but a few years ago, my brother died, and it was a massive trauma. And I had to unpack the fact that I'm married with kids, and every time my husband got into a car, I would freak out because my brother died in a car accident. And it was something that I had to unpack and go through. I went to a psychologist. We worked through it for over a year. It was amazing because not only was it my brother's death, it was things from my past that I'd picked up, rejections and other issues that I had been through. And as I started with one thing, it opened up other areas in my life that needed working on.
Yeah, it's just, it's just incredible. It's incredible. Jess, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I just want to add to that, on average, it takes people 11 years to seek help from the time of symptoms. So very often when adults are going for eventually seeking help, they're dealing with childhood traumas. They're dealing with things that possibly happened 10, 11 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, whatever it may be. But it doesn't have to be that way. You know, yes, it's difficult. It is. Nobody's saying it's easy to say, hey, I need help, and taking that step. But that is the hardest step in the process. You know, once you've done that, it's it gets easier every time. It might feel uncomfortable, it might feel difficult, and that's because you are getting all that yuckiness out. And every time it will feel a little less so, a little less so. And I just want to add the fact that Stacey went to therapy for a year to deal with that is also a really important point, because I think people expect to go to therapy once and to have wiped that dashboard, new life, which obviously is not the case. And then people don't go again. And then they say therapy didn't work. And then they maybe try things that may not be as helpful to try and sort of numb the pain because they feel like therapy isn't for them or it didn't work. So it's really important to find what is right for you. And that's in terms of the person you're seeing, the methods you're using. There are so many different forms of therapy and things to go about, ways to go about healing, but it's about finding what works for you and with the person that is right for you. And that might be a bit of trial and error. Going back to the physical sort of analogies again, you know, you might go to a GP and say, I've got this pain in my head. GP doesn't necessarily know what's wrong with you, so they pass you on to the next person. They may not, you know, you might go through 5 or 6 doctors until you get a physical sort of diagnosis. And it's the same when we're dealing with our minds. It might not happen the first time, but that doesn't mean that we should stop, because it certainly will be worth it. So it's just about staying on track and, you know, doing everything you can day to day. It's not easy, but it's certainly worth it.
It's really necessary. You know, I can vouch for that because, you know, I'm a strong person. I had all the support I needed. But in 1988, a man stole 5 million rand from me, which I didn't have. And I just felt so violated because I trusted him so much. He was spoke in the Methodist Church. He was really, we thought, a good man. He had a good track history, and he created fraud. And I lost 5 million rand, which I didn't have in one afternoon. And I had to spend many years to make that money back, because obviously I had to pay it back. So, and I bore him a grudge. I bore him a grudge for 14 years. And for 14 years, I said, I'm dealing with this and I'm dealing with this, but I bore him a grudge. And eventually one day I just decided, you know what? Bearing a grudge is like holding a hot coal. The only one getting burnt was me. And he was scot-free. He was out there and he was having a wonderful time with my 5 million rand. So I just decided to forgive him, and I just couldn't. I really tried by myself and I could not. So I decided to go for therapy, and I asked around and I found the person that I thought, and I went and I spoke to her about other things first. And then eventually I said, this is my problem. I need to get rid of this grudge that I bore for this man. And 1988 was 300 rand a session, which was a lot of money then. And I just paid the money, and I'd lay there and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. It just wouldn't come. So I went back the second session and I just couldn't do it. And I thought, I'm going to keep going until I do this. The third session, I thought, shit, Margaret, it was 5 million rand, no, 5,900,000 rand that you've wasted on this wretched man. And with that, I thought, I'm going to do this. And I had to physically decide to forgive him. And as I did it was almost a physical thing. I could still feel it. I could feel this hatred getting out of my body. It literally started my head. It went out through my toes. and it was gone. And I could not wait to phone him and tell him. And I'm going to tell you something quite freaky now. I phoned him and I said, hi, can I speak to Lionel? Because I've just got to tell him I've forgiven him. And they said, I'm sorry, Mrs. Hirsch, the paramedics are here. He's just had a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
How wow was that? That is the gospel story. I could not believe it. But as I released, it went back to the person that actually should have had the trauma and drama. And it's just, and his life really, from then, his life changed. And the minute I forgave him, my life changed for the better. It was just unbelievable. So I can't tell you how strong forgiveness is. And the lesson learned then bore me in such good stead, because I've used it a lot of times since then, because I can now do it. And when I saw all the people looting my shop, when I walked into that shop, the first thing I did, in that picture you see of me standing there in that burnt down building, was I was forgiving them. And it says in the Bible, Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do with. Yes. And I just had to forgive those people, because I just knew that until I forgave them, I would be stuck. And a lot of my friends who went through that, they were stuck in there until they found that forgiveness. The minute I forgave them, I've rebuilt my shop, I've started up, and we're doing better than we ever did before. But you need to forgive. And I think gratitude is the first thing, but forgiveness is the second thing. You have to be able to forgive the person who wounded you, who hurt you, who did you down, because until you forgive them, you are holding that hot coal, and the only person getting burnt is you. So it's so important. So I want you to write down now, all of you, the things that where people have done you down, and we've all suffered rejection, all the horrible things that have happened to you in your life. And you can go back, and what happens first? Your childhood comes up, because you go through so much trauma in your childhood, and you write those things down. And this is what I'm going to forgive those people. And as you forgive them, you just find that energy just, the bad energy comes out, it's replaced with good energy, and you start feeling so good. Stacey, what do you feel about forgiveness?
Yeah, that is so powerful, Margaret. You have hit the nail on the head. I love it when people talk about forgiveness, because it is our get out of jail free card when we finally forgive. My thing that I always say to people is that if they hold on to unforgiveness and bitterness, it's like they are swallowing the poison and hoping the other person will die. No, you will be the one who is affected and die. They're carrying on with their life. Half the time, they don't even know that you have this unforgiveness against them. So the minute that you can start working on that in your own heart, it frees you. It doesn't only free them, it frees you, actually. So it is incredibly powerful, the process of forgiveness. But, forgiveness, we think it's an emotion, but it starts with the physical act of deciding to do it. So you physically decide to do it, and then the emotion might only come a couple of months or years later that you actually feel.
When you're paying the 300 Rand a session, it's mounting up. I am going to make this happen. And I think that's that decision. You have to physically decide, I'm going to make this happen. And when you do that, then it's amazing.
Yeah, so true.
I think it also just, it comes down to, what you can and can't control. And again, sometimes it's easier said than done, but you can't necessarily control that somebody stole money from you or did you wrong in whatever way, but we can control the way in which we respond to it or react to it. And yes, initially it's not going to be nice, but at some stage, again, it's about making that decision to say, okay, I can now control how I move forward with this, and not always an easy one. But as has been said, it's a decision, and it's to say, okay, I can't control this, but I can control this. And it's a good tool to use when you're stressing and worrying and there's a million things going on in your mind, to write a list of everything that is stressing you out and worrying you, and then crossing out the things you can't control, and then making plans to deal with the ones that you can, and basically just
And for those of you who are listening here on the web and also on Facebook, please send us things that you'd like to discuss. What's worrying you? What is, because you all know what worry is. Worry is thinking what you don't want to happen, which of course makes it happen. When you just you get rid of the worry, you don't think about it. You think what you do want to happen, and you can make that happen too. So please send us lots of comments, because this is a new show. We just started it, and we're looking forward to you sending us your comments. And if you're on here, you can put it in the chat. Thank you for the guys that have been putting in the chat now. now. And those of you watching on Facebook, just inbox me on Facebook and just let us know what you would like to discuss, because there's so much of this out there. And I think we're all realizing that we need help now, and we need to help others, because we only can, by helping others, we help ourselves. That's why I teach such a lot, because by teaching, I can learn so much. Shane, do you want to just run back to my slides, please? And I'll just go through a couple of other things. I don't know where I got up to. Yeah, we were talking about the goal setting, and then we've got Paula Quincy talking to us next week at least, about goal setting. You can't hit a target you can't see. I always say to people, if I had a dartboard like this and I put it on the wall, no matter how lousy of dart player you were, eventually, if you kept throwing those darts, you would get a bullseye. But if you put the dartboard under the table where nobody could see it, you'd never, ever hit that bullseye. And it's the same with your goals. You've got to be able to see that target. And we're going to go through vision boarding and goal setting and future lessons. But the distance between your dream and reality is called action. You have to, the goal is a desired result, but you've got to take action to make it happen. People think that I'm going to write a goal. I want to have R1 million and I'm going to sit back and absolutely just sit and wait for it to happen. It's never going to happen. And I always give the analogy of the birds. You never see a hungry bird. God feeds every single bird on this earth, but he doesn't throw the seed into the nest. Those birds are hustling from the morning to the night to get that flipping seed. And we have to be hustling from the morning to the night to get our money in the bank and to get everything right in our lives. It's a constant thing. But goal setting involves the development of an action plan designed to motivate and guide the person or group towards a goal. So I have my own goals that I set. Each branch has its goals. The company has its goals. And the country's got to have goals. And I hope you're all voting today. I'm going later to take my 96-year-old mother to vote. And we just have to have those goals. I just wish they'd let me run the country, because I've set goals for this country that would make it happen. So we've got to ask ourselves, why is setting a goal important? It gives you long-term vision, but short-term motivation. It keeps you going every single day. You've got to start working towards that goal, and you have something to work for. You have that sense of purpose. So it makes you get up in the morning. If you wake up in the morning and you've got nothing to do, you have no sense of purpose. You need a sense of purpose. Why do people die after they retire? Because they don't have a sense of purpose. You need that sense of purpose. And that's why I love living in this country, because there is so much to do. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your goals. You have to have good goals. You've got to have really good goals, because they direct your life's energy. At the end of the day, what are you putting your energy into? You have to be working towards those goals to have that energy. So Shane, if you could just stay here and go back to Stacey for a bit. And Stacey, tell us how important you think goal setting is. Wait, you muted, Stacey. You muted. There you go.
Sorry about that. Goal setting is, it is absolutely key for every one of us. If we don't have goals, what are we aiming towards? It's like the end road. If you get into your car and you don't have a destination in mind, where are you driving to? It's the same for our life. But saying that, we can have short-term goals and long-term goals. And Jess and I were actually chatting about it earlier, about goals, funny enough. And we were just saying that we need to have achievable goals along with our long-term goals. So we need to have daily goals that we know that we can achieve, which are going to motivate us onto the next goal. So, for instance, if you've decided you're going to have a run, make the decision you're going to run, put on your shoes, go for the run, but achieve a goal that is achievable. So if you know that you can't run 10 Ks to start with 1 kilometer, or even start with 500 meters, do what you can in the time that you've got and try and achieve that goal. And once you've achieved that goal, then set a little bit of a harder goal, then set your 5-year goals, 10-year goals, but keep in mind that you want to be able to achieve some of them. Jess, I know you had a lot to say on this one.
Jess is champing a bit to go there. Let me go.
No. For me, goal setting is obviously everything. Otherwise, really, what are we doing? We're kind of just waking up, going through the motions, going to sleep, waking up, going through the motions, going to sleep. But I think what is equally important, if not more important, is firstly the roadmap to actually getting there. So the plan, and making sure that you actually stick to the plan. So for example, you can have the goal of going to Joburg, but without a map, if you've never been to Joburg, you're never going to get there. So what are we doing and as Stacey mentioned, in smaller increments to actually achieve that goal? And that's where the guts actually comes in. I think it's something like 4% of people that set goals actually achieve their goals. So it's so easy to put on to, and unless we're doing something to achieve them, it's not a goal, it's a wish, a hope, a dream kind of thing. So it's so easy to put things down on paper, but now what are you going to do to actually get there? And I think the other thing that's really, really important with goals is your motivation, your why. Why are you setting this goal? And why do you, as humans, we're driven by feelings, we're driven by emotions. So if you put down on a piece of paper that I'm going to go for a run today, cool, you're probably not going to go for a run today. But if you force yourself to go for that run and you feel how you feel, after the run, now the result of the run motivates you to go for another one. And as you go for more runs, the feelings that come with it, the results that come with it, that's what keeps you motivated. But the goal itself doesn't always motivate. And that's the tricky part, because people feel like, write the goal down, now I'm motivated. But it doesn't. You've got to work for the motivation. You've got to act, and then the motivation comes. So you've got to,
How do I do that? I say, it's so simple, but everybody does it the wrong way, because what you do when you're putting into your GPS, what's the first thing you do? You put in your destination. This is where I want to be. And you've got to do that with your goals. You say, this is where I want to be at the end of this week, this month, this year. And I'm going to make sure that I will be there. And the words you speak are what you prophesy into your life. So it's so important. That saying no problem is banned at Hirsch, because the universe doesn't understand negative. So the minute you say no problem, the universe says problem. Oh my God, let me send her a couple, and you just have these problems raining down on you. So we're not allowed to say that at all. We have to say wonderful, marvelous, fabulous. We use these wonderful words that make us feel good all day, because as you speak the words, so you start to feel better. As soon as you speak in words of gossip and trauma and all that, you start to feel worse. So we make sure that we speak really, really good words. But I think a lot of people go wrong because they say, yes, for instance, I want to have a Mercedes Benz. But I can't afford it. The repayments are too high. The insurance is going to kill me, blah, blah, blah. And they start finding all the reasons why they shouldn't have it. Now, Anna, who I showed you, who came to me with 30 Rand in her bag 5 years ago, now drives a Mercedes Benz, because she said, this is the Mercedes Benz I'm going to drive by the end of next year. Which she said last year, and she did drive it. And she was specific. The more specific you can be, she wanted a silver C180 compressor. She had the cream upholstery. She had all the things that she wanted it to be, and she listed everything down. Then what we did is we phoned Mercedes and we said, have you got a car like this? They said, yeah, we actually have. Well, could you send it to us? And I said, okay, test drive it now. Test drive round the parking lot, let's go down the road and everything. We went down, but I said, you smell this upholstery? It's real leather, it smells divine. She said, yes. Can you feel the power of this car? Yes. So you start to feel it. She owned that car and she worked towards it until she got it, and now she drives it. So, and she just we were giving a talk together on Saturday morning, and she just said, and that other brand new bucky outside, that's mine. I paid cash for it. So she, you don't just get to there and say, here I am. Then she needed a bucky, because now we do the cakes. She was transporting all those cakes to the wedding where we assembled them, or she assembled them. And she needed a bucky. She didn't want to put them in a Mercedes Benz. So she went out and bought a bucky. So it just goes to show, no matter what you decide, but you start with the end in mind and then work backwards to today. So when we said, this is the Mercedes Benz I want, the repayments are so much, I'll have to get a loan for so much, the insurance is going to cost me so much, my petrol is going to cost me so much, to get that I have to earn so much. And then, okay, now I'm going to work towards earning that, because if I earn that much, I can go up those steps. So you start with the end in mind, work backwards to today. That's the knack, and that's actually how it works. Stacey, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, it's incredible. And to go back to the why, with running, for instance, like if you can say, okay, well, why do I want to start running? Well, I want to start doing marathons, or I want to lose weight, or I just want to be healthier. Like I want to live longer. I want to improve my health and live longer for my family. So when you understand a why before around that goal, it just makes it so much more achievable,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Jess?
Yeah, again, reiterate the same thing. I think it's when we have goals, we need to think of the motivation behind it more than the goal itself, because I think that's what will drive us to stick to the steps in place.
And I know for a lot of people, the visuals are also really key. So have a vision board. So stick onto your fridge or in your bedroom, or, have that vision. There we go.
Your vision board. It starts with a circle. Now, so you draw the circle, and the first thing, the most important thing in your life, what is the most important thing in your life? It is your health. Those ladies are both 74 years old, and look at the difference in them.
Wow.
Hey, it's just incredible. Your health is so important. And we've realized that even more now with COVID. Oh my goodness, if I'm not healthy, I'm going to be dead. So let me just get healthy. So you do not want to look like that when you're 70, I promise you. So as you know, I went vegan because I realized that the fuel that you put into your body is what makes your body work. If you put rubbish into your body, you know, energy drinks, McDonald's, Kentucky, all those type of things, you are going to get sick. And my staff are living proof that, you know, they've diabetes. And I said to them when I'm drinking those energy drinks, I said, you're going to get kidney problems, mark my words. And I want to tell you, the first day the one guy got kidney stones, he said, Mrs. Hirsch, this is so painful. He said, the whole time I was passing this kidney stone, I was thinking of you saying, you're going to get kidney stones. I got them. So, you know, being vegan is important. Exercising is really important. You have to do something, even if you start with little weights, you start, you know, my friend Stefan, who is an owner of my opposition, Tafelberg, had to lose 130 kilos. And he went in and he couldn't even walk to the gate of his house the first day. And he started, and now he is running marathons. So Stefan, well done to you. Even though you're my opposition, I still love you like crazy. And yeah, he's done and so incredibly well. He's so thin now. He's kept his weight down. He's just so healthy by comparison. So that's my friend Glenda. And I think friendships are also important. So Glenda and I do yoga every day. Well, every day that we can do together. So we do our yoga and we do it together. It just makes us more supple as you get older. There we are on my veranda doing our yoga. You can see she's better than me. My hands are not so high, my elbows are not so far back, but I'm getting there slowly but surely. But I think it's really important as women to have friends and to do things together, and especially to do yoga, because I'm not a runner. I never want to run down the pavement. My boobs are droopy enough without running. I just don't need that. So, but yoga, it makes you stretch, it makes you more malleable, you can bend down. I just said I was getting off the plane yesterday and I had a heavy suitcase in my bag. And, you know, I saw the lady in front of me, she couldn't get her bag down, she couldn't walk, she was getting her stick out, and she was younger than me. So, you know, I think it's really important as you get older to become more supple. And I mean, I could never go to a yoga class because I'm so useless, I've got such bad cohorts. But then Glenda said, look, let's do it over Zoom. So we actually do it over our phones together. And she motivates me. If she doesn't phone me, I don't do it. So she motivates me to get up and do it in the morning. I motivate her to keep on thinking of new things, and we are really going forward stronger together. So I think it's really, really important. And also the vision boarding. I have to see pictures, but I just want to tell you a quick story, which I've told my staff. I always have vision boards, and I love beaches. So I cutting out pictures one year, and I cut out this beautiful, beautiful beach, and I put a picture, I didn't even know where it was. I stuck it on my vision board and just stuck it up there. And a couple of months later, my husband's an avid cricketer, and the cricketer said, we're going to play in Barbados. Do you want to come with? So he said, yes. And he said to me, do you want to come with? Now, I absolutely hate cricket, but I thought a trip to Barbados sounded really nice. So I said, yes, I'll come. So off I go to Barbados. He goes to cricket, and I'm sitting on the beach. I'm just sitting there looking at this beautiful beach. And a man comes past. He said, can I take a picture of you? You look so nice on this beach. So I said, yeah, it's a nice pickup line, but please take a picture of me. Thank you very much. So he took the picture of me. When I came back, I was putting my Barbados holiday into photo books, which I do on the computer. And I put this picture in, and as I looked up, the picture on my wall was exactly the same beach that I was sitting on in that picture. Sure. That's how powerful it is. So vision boarding is so powerful. And I tell you this, not to impress you, but to impress upon you that if it works for me, it can work for you. So everybody, I encourage you. I put in the picture of what I want to look like, the dress I want to wear. You know, and it's the Mrs. South Africa final on 26th of November. I sent my dress designer a picture of the dress I want. This is the dress I want, but I want it in Hirsch blue. I'm wearing a dress that I designed in Hirsch blue because I put that picture up on my vision board and made it happen. So I encourage everyone to have a vision board and to go through all those different things. Yeah. Stacey, what do you feel about the vision boarding?
That is amazing. It was amazing when you were talking. It reminded me of a story quite recently that we've had about health. So my husband's also an avid cricketer. He plays cricket most weekends, and he runs. He's a trail run, like a marathon trail runner. He's aiming to do the 100-miler doozy. So he's very fit, and he looks like the picture of health. But he just wasn't feeling great. He said, you know, I'm not feeling 100%. I feel like my energy is struggling. So I said, well, that's it. We are booking you a session with one of the specialists on Connectable. And he went and saw this functional medicine practitioner, and she tested him, just normal tests like with Lancet. And he is pre-diabetic. And we would never, ever have known that. So he has had an entire lifestyle change and just changing his supplements because she could, see with his blood test what he was lacking. So she, put him on Bs, put him on magnesium, changed his diet. He is now a new person. He can run he just gets back from a 15K run and has energy. He says he's never felt so good. So looking at those health pictures, again, we in this world where we've got so much that can help us, and we need to use it.
Yeah. And I think what people don't realize, in the old days, you got your 70 years and 10 as I've done. And then you said, okay, well, that's it. I've done my time. Now I'm about to die. Now, when we get to 70, as Glenda says, it's the new 50. In fact, it's the new 40. And we are raring to go. We've got so much ahead of us. We've got so much energy. We've got so much experience. We've got so much life in us. And we've got to make the most of it. We can't do that if we're sick. So it's so important to have those goals that we're working towards, because we'll feel better if we're working towards it than if we don't. I mean, my friend Jenny Gould, she's for the Heart and Stroke Foundation, because she's had so many heart attacks, so many strokes. She's got stage 4 cancer. They told her that she had nothing, going for her. She said, blow you, I'm going to climb Kilimanjaro. And she summited 10 days ago. So, if you have that purpose and that drive in your life, you will be able to do absolutely anything. No matter what the medical report says, you will actually make it apart from that. And I think having your goals and your vision board, when Jenny started, we started with her vision board. She put the pictures up of herself summiting Kilimanjaro. And when she did, now she's got her celebratory dinner tomorrow, actually. Unfortunately, I can't get you. She's in PE, which is now called Quebeca. So Jenny, have a wonderful time there, and we'll be thinking of you in spirit. But gee whiz, just so well done. And that was just from setting goals and putting it up on the vision board. Amazing. Jess, what's your feeling on that?
Yes, absolutely. I just want to touch on when you said health is, the most important thing in our lives. I think slowly people are starting to realize that health does not just mean the absence of disease, and that there's so much more to it. And to really live a good life and to truly be happy and healthy and well, we need to look at all aspects of ourselves, our physical, our mental, our spiritual, our relationships, everything, and put it all together to form the perfect picture. And then that made me think of your yoga with Glenda, and how important connection is and relationships, and that it also goes along with accountability. A big part of not achieving the things that we want to achieve is because we can't keep ourselves accountable. So sometimes we need somebody else to help us be accountable, be it a friend, a family member, a counselor, a coach, a doctor, whoever it is, just somebody to check in and say, hey, how's it going? Because we find it a lot more difficult to let other people down than to let ourselves down for some reason. So yeah, we need to look at, we might feel like we have anxiety, but maybe a blood test will show that there's actually something going on beneath the skin. Because a lot of physical and mental ailments can have similar symptoms and show in similar ways. So you may be wondering why this treatment for anxiety or depression is just not working. Meanwhile, there's actually something going on, below the surface. So it's really important to look at both.
You decide to take a pill, say for depression, but then it messes up your kidneys or something like that. So one thing leads to another. Let's rather clear all the rubbish out, decide that we're going to take control of our health. I believe the mind controls the body. And, as you know, I really promote mind power with Robin Banks. I've trained with Tony Robbins, who also teaches mind power. He is also into health, but he teaches mind power and how the power of the mind can actually change everything in your life. And I think if you take control of your mind, everything else goes right. But now tell us about some of the people. You say you've got 95 different people to help our listeners on your panel. Now, just tell us the various different things that they do.
Yeah, so we've got mind, body, wellness as categories. So in the mind category, you've got your counselors, your psychologists. So if you're looking for grief counseling, they split into subcategories. So grief, anxiety, depression, burnout, whatever it may be. So you can look for somebody with exactly what you are experiencing. Then under body, we've got things that you can do virtually with the body. So dietitians, nutritionists, functional medicine practitioners, wellness coaches, anything to skincare consultations. And then under wellness, we've got our coaches, so life coaches, business coaches,
So if somebody
plenty
needs
of coaches.
help, can they just approach you and say, listen, this is my problem. I'm anxious all the time. I'm on antidepressants and I want to get off them, whatever. And then you'll say, this is the right person. And you know these people. So we don't have to go randomly asking our friends. We don't really want to tell our friends, oh, this is what's wrong with me, So we can come to you and can we email you? How do we get hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two things for us. I think for us, the therapy process is a very personal one. So it's really pertinent to find somebody that you connect with. So people can go to the website and look under the different categories. You'll see that each specialist has a photo, a write-up, a little mini CV, a video. So you can watch a little video, see if they sort of connect with you or not, just to make the process a little less daunting, a little bit more personal. But the other side of the coin is that if you're already feeling overwhelmed, it can be very overwhelming to now go look at choices. And sometimes we don't always know what's wrong with us or what we're even feeling and which direction to even look in. So that's where we can assist. So we've got 14 different questionnaires on the site that people can complete. And then we can give them options of specialists, or they can just drop us an email, or there's a contact form on the site. So Jess at Connectable Life or Stacey at Connectable Life or on the website.
You can WhatsApp us as well. We've got a WhatsApp facility on the site as well. So just send us a WhatsApp with what you're dealing with and we can direct you in the right direction. I have put our two different links, our questionnaire link and our employee wellness link, which has 13 of the webinars on there. So questionnaires. 13 questionnaires there that people can just fill out and it comes straight through to us. Everything is incredibly private. It's all about just finding the right direction for the person. So we want to remove the stigma. We just want to make it super easy. And this is how we feel is the best way to do it.
Now, like anything else, the big question is how much does this cost? Because I'm spending a fortune on antidepressants, but I can't pay for them and pay for a counselor as well. I'm going to have to give up either the antidepressants or go with a counselor. How do we work this out? And what is just give us we don't know. I mean, if I say to you, how much is a fridge? You won't know. I can quote 2,000 fridges prices off by heart. So just tell us roughly what is the cost on average?
So we've got the specialists set their own rates. They're not assigned by Connectable Life in any way. So we've got counselors that charge 250 Rand an hour and counselors that charge 1,000 Rand an hour. So you can find somebody within your budget. And I think it's also important for us to realize that, yes, it does cost money, but maybe it just means making a few changes because, as we've said, health is our most important thing. So,
what people must think of it's an investment in themselves.
Yes.
In the stock exchange, you invest in your hair, you invest in your clothes, you've got to invest in your mind and your body as well. Yes. And I think as I'm paying a trainer to train, so you've got to have somebody to take that. And I also think that if you pay for something, it becomes valuable to you. If you get it for nothing, this has no value. But so if you're paying for it, you've got to be there, and you're going to make sure that it happens. As I did with my 300 Rand a session, I was paying for it and I was going to get those sessions. I was going to make it work for me because I just couldn't think, I got to pay another 300 Rand next week again. No, I'm going to make this happen. So I think that also holds you accountable and it makes you accountable. And you think, this is an investment in me and I'm going to use this money wisely. Now, just a quick wrap up, Stacey, from you.
Well, for me, going back to that about paying for it. So when I went to the psychologist at the time, I'm married to a farmer and we were going through the drought and it was really tough. And it was the best investment I've ever made in my whole life. It changed my world. It didn't only just change my mind, it changed my looks physically. It got me motivated. I often say it's the best money I've ever spent is seeing that counselor. So I can vouch for the fact that it was money well spent and it was not a waste of money. But it's the same with our kids, when we often need extra therapies for our children. We need to do it because it is an investment for their lives forever. If you know your child is struggling, help them and putting them in the right place. It might be a little bit of money now, but it will save you thousands in the long run, actually. And it's the same with us. It will save us thousands because it will, help our health in the long run.
Yeah. And I think our self-esteem is also the most important thing. And I always tell people the difference between self-esteem and self-confidence. Self-esteem is what you think of yourself. Self-confidence is how you portray yourself to other people. And I think it's really, really important. And as I tell my staff, as their self-esteem goes up, their bank balance goes up with it. It's just incredible to see.
Yeah.
And once your self-esteem goes up, your self-confidence automatically increases. And once your confidence increases, you can get out and you can do things. You don't take rejection so personally or so badly. You know you're going to have it. And I always say to my staff, you know, every no, you're closer to a yes. You only get so many no's till eventually you will get a yes. So you just got to keep on going. And I think that's the sort of feeling people have to get. I'm going through a hard time. These things are happening. I never get one stage. We had 7 things happen after another. We had a flood, we had a fire, we had a burglary, we had all these things, 7 after. And I kept on saying, every time we're getting closer to a yes. And once they were all over with yes, everything just worked out and came right again. So yeah.
Absolutely.
And Jess, a wind up from you.
Yes, I think it might mean having to just to wrap up on the cost of it. It might just mean actually putting it into your budget, and maybe that's your goal. Because it's in the greater scheme of things, if you can find somebody that is within your budget, it's not a huge cost, because it can end up costing a lot more. But just from our side, I think we just want to thank you so much for opening the space for everybody, just so that we can have these discussions and remove the stigma, make people comfortable.
Yeah, I think it's so important that people know that there is somebody they can go to. And if you don't know anybody, come to Connectable Life there and tell them what you're looking to sort out in your life. They will put you in touch with the best person for that. So life isn't always onward and upward. Sometimes you evolve, sometimes you devolve, sometimes you get life sucked out of you, and other times you breathe the life back in, and hopefully this session brings life back into you. The times of shutting down and times of opening up, the times the walls go up and then sometimes they come right back down again. Whenever you write, I hope you choose to act out of love, even though you didn't yesterday, because love along with hope, faith and courage will always get you out of the pits, unstuck, and back on your way to brighter days eventually. And I think that's what we've got to realize, and of course, love, the greatest of all is love. And you've got to love people. And I'm going to be talking next week also about your partner. That's the first most important thing in your life is your health. The second most important thing in your life is your partner. Your partner will bring you 99% of your happiness or your unhappiness in life. It is so important to choose the right person. And if you've chosen the wrong person, get the hell out of there, even if you can't. That's why my goal for this coming year is to work to make women more financially independent. Because if you're a financially independent woman, you don't have to stay with anybody who's giving you gender-based violence. You don't have to stay with anyone you don't want to. You can move out. And often by moving out, that person will then change their life. And I know one of my friends who's now been married 5 times. Her husband, she said to him, this is not working, you've got to go. And she said, but if you want to come back, this is what I want of you. And he wanted her so much that he came back on her terms. And I think a lot of women don't realize that they can have the man back on their terms. They often go to the man on his terms. But if you have a man back on your terms, and you've got to understand, as women today, we are financially independent. We can live the life of our dreams. We don't have to have, I always say, a husband is like a Gucci handbag. It's fantastic to have on your arm. It's very expensive, takes a lot of upkeep, and it's really worth it at the end of the day, but it's not an absolute necessity. And I think a lot of women have to understand that they're far better off on their own. They can do more things on their own. And you've got to learn to love yourself before you can love anyone else. You have to have something before you can give it away. You have to have that self-love before you can give it to somebody else. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. They don't like themselves. They try and love somebody else, and it's just not working out. And if we can explain that to them. So I think relationships, I've been married in April 50 years to the same man. He says he deserves a medal. When I married him, I said to him, I will look after you better than anybody else, but in turn, you must look after me better than you look after anybody else. And that's been our mantra all along. And we've had the most happy, wonderful marriage because we've looked after each other absolutely unconditionally. And I think unconditional love is all that, I love you, but you must do this and that. That is not what love is all about. I think also people don't realize that you've got to fall in love with your partner. You can't just love your partner. We love lots of people, but you've got to fall in love with your partner. When you fall in love, you know that's like a click. That is the right person. This is the person I can spend my life with. And then you also have to realize the people who are looking for a husband, and I work with women all the time, You've got to be the person. This is the kind of man I want. Well, are you the person that man is looking for? He's not looking like for an old frump sitting in a dressing gown at 11 o'clock in the morning. He's looking for somebody who's going to get up. He'll be proud to put on his arm. So you have to become that person. So I think we've got to get that message across to people as well. I want this wonderful man, but I look like an old frump. No, it's not going to work like that, girl. You've got to get yourself out looking good. So that's our transformational Tuesdays. I'm going to be showing some of those before and afters that we've done with women, just to make them look good. But just thank you so much to all of you girls who joined us. And
thank you.
Did I give you the wrap up? I was so carried away with my own wrap up.
Yes, we're so excited.
I just want to say one more thing. Margaret, you are such an inspiration. Thank you so much. I mean, that's man that stole that 5 million from you, that could have changed your life. That could have made you spiral out of control, hatred, anger, and taken your life into a pit. But instead you chose to rise above that. You chose to, and look how much greater you are for that. Look at this life that you've created and how you are helping so many people in the process. So thank you so much. Thank you for giving us this space, and thank you just for being you, and thank you for encouraging us and just telling us about your incredible marriage. And well done, and congratulations, 50 years. That's incredible. Thank you.
Yeah, no, this is wonderful. And you can live the life of your dreams. I live the life of my dreams. I've become the person that I wanted to be, and everyone can do that, but you don't get there overnight. It's a long, hard haul. I'm 71 this year, and it's been a long haul, but I'm really looking forward to the next 71 years. Thank you, guys. Thank you to all of those.
Thank you. See you next week.
Send us your comments.
Next week, everyone.
Yes.
Bye.
And she's wonderful. She's one of our wow ladies. She's fantastic. So see you there. Thank you, girls.
Bye.